Hello, welcome, guys and ladies, to All Things Gumball. I normally talk about the vending business. Of course, there's a lot of things to talk about. You can talk about the weather, and I can talk about other jobs I've had. But I like to talk about the vending business. I know that a lot of people that are watching these videos are interested in building a vending business for themselves. They're interested in building a vending business. They want to learn some of the ins and outs and the tricks of the trade. They want to look for the things they want to learn. In other words, they would not look for, but learn some of the things to look out for. What do you look out for? Like, here's an example: a Vendesign machine. Here's a picture of a Vendesign machine. A Vendesign machine does not do well with hot tamales and Mike and Ike's. I wanted to make this video earlier than today because this is a video about Thanksgiving. And I hope that you all have had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that you've had time with your family, and if not your family, at least with your friends. And if you guys are feeling alone, I know what that's like. When I first moved to Dallas, I was living on my own. My brother and I came down here. And there was a time that he went off and did his own thing, and he was up in New York and out in California and Colorado. So there was a time when I was alone, and I know what it feels like to be alone. But it does get better. Things always get a little bit better. Don't feel bad. Things will get better. If it's bad now, things will get better. So this will be a Thanksgiving video. 2 days ago, I spent time with my two daughters. We had a nice meal Tuesday night, and my daughter's husband, Mitchell, and I just wanted to say we had a great time. Most of my family lives in Wisconsin still. My brother, I believe, lives out in Arizona. My father and his wife, Betsy, they live up in Arkansas. So I don't have a lot of immediate family here. That's all right. I've got a lot of friends, And I just wanted to share my past, share a little bit about my past, and tell you a little funny story. I hope you enjoy this funny story. To me, it's funny, and every time I tell this story, people laugh. A lot of people laugh at this story. When I first came to Dallas, I was a busboy at a restaurant. Then I started waiting tables. And then I met a girl and I started dating her. And her friends were telling me to get into the cab business, which I did. And I drove a cab for probably, a few years, a couple years. And one Thanksgiving evening, after I had been celebrating with friends and family, I went to work. I figured, well, it's, Thursday night, people are coming in from the airport. People need taxi cabs. And a lot of the cab drivers I know, they were going to take off for the day. So I figured that the competition would be very, small. There would be very few cabs out working. And maybe there wouldn't be a lot of people needing cabs because when you go somewhere on a vacation, you have friends that pick you up or relatives or family members. The cab business here in Dallas, the people that usually need cabs are the ones that are businessmen, and they don't have anyone to pick them up. And this is, of course, this story takes place way before Uber and Lyft and all of that. And of course, Uber and Lyft are now kind of cutting into the cab business. So, I still stay in touch with some of the cab drivers, and they are really telling me what a struggle it is to make money as a cab driver. And I guess they should have thought about that when they were really dirty and they didn't clean their taxi cabs. So, my story takes place on a Thanksgiving evening one year, many years ago. And as I said, I figured I'd go out to the airport and see what's going on, see who's coming in and see who needs a ride. And so I waited out there. I got out there about 10 o'clock at night, and I waited until about 2 in the morning. And I was called over to the hotel, the Hilton Hotel, at 2 in the morning. I sat there for 4 hours without getting a fare, and I finally got sent over to the Hilton inside the airport, inside the airport property. And when I got there, the guy didn't even know where he was. He didn't even know what city he was in. He didn't know he was in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. He was out of his mind. He was on drugs or something. And when he got in the car, as I said, it was 2 in the morning. And he's jamming and he's excited and he's ready to go. You know, he's full of energy, man. He's ready to go. And I looked over at him and I thought, what in the world did I just pick up? And he was young. He was about 25 years old, young, good-looking guy. And he sat in the front seat and he's partying, man. He's got so much energy, like he just, you know, shot a whole bunch of cocaine or something. You know, I meant like Coca-Cola, but snorting cocaine or whatever. Coke, caffeine, snorting cocaine. And he said, let's go, man. Let's go to the clubs, you know. And I'm like, all the clubs are closed at 2, dude. And he had a secret plan, a secret weapon up his sleeve. You know, I didn't think about this, but he gave me a great idea. He said, let's go to the topless bars. And I'm like, you know, everything closes at 2. All the bars close at 2. It's 2 o'clock, you know. He goes, no, let's go to the topless bar. All the girls are getting off work. Maybe, you know, he wanted to pick up a girl, you know, at a topless bar. You know, a girl who's getting off work. So I thought, cool. All right, let's go. I'm game. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see what happens. So we drove down to the area where there's a lot of topless bars. I think there's like 8 or 10 in a row. And we get out of the car, and he pulls out this big wad of money. I'm telling you, it was probably this thick. Just big wad of money. And he pulls off a $100 bill, and he hands it to me, and he goes, this is yours. And I was like really thankful, man. I really needed the money. I was like, wow, great. And I thought to myself, man, you know, if I stick with this guy, maybe by the end of the trip, you know, by the end of the day or whatever, by the end of the morning, you know, maybe I'll get another one of those $100 bills, you know. So I was kind of greedy. Yeah, I'd have to say I was kind of greedy. I was hoping that he'd, you know, fork over another $100 bill. So anyway, there was a guy out there. He was like a valet, and he was, you know, just trying to keep everything calm. There was people coming and going, you know, all the employees leaving, all the customers leaving, you know, and it was like a chaotic zoo there. And so we pull up, and he's looking at us like, what are you doing here? You know, we're closed. And my new, you know, buddy here, he says, watch this. And I said, all right. So I'm taking notes, you know. And he tells the valet, here, he gives him $50. He tells him, go get Lisa. I'm looking for my friend Lisa. And that was just a strange, you know, just an odd choice of names. You know, he just pulled it out of a hat. You know, he didn't know anybody. He was from another city, from another state. But he was guessing there's probably someone in there named Lisa. And he gave the guy $50. And the guy probably went in there and said, all right, who wants to go hang out with this guy? He's got some money. Well, a few minutes later, the valet guy came back, and he said, there's no Lisa here. Nobody, you know, basically, you know, nobody wants to go with you, even though you have money. That's kind of what he was telling the guy that was my passenger. And so my passenger said, well, give me back my 50 then. And I don't even remember if he got his 50 back or not. But so he hops in the car, and he says, where should we go now? And I said, I don't know. There's another topless bar. And we did it a couple of times. Couple of different topless bars, and no girl wanted to go with him, even though, like I said, he had money. He had a lot of money. He was flashing it around like crazy. And like I said, he was fairly good looking, young, healthy, strong, muscular, but nobody wanted to go out with him that night. And I thought, well, that's really odd, you know, he's flashing all this money. You would think one of these girls would want to take him up on it. And I asked him, I said, why do you think they don't want to, you know, hang out with you tonight? And he said, well, they made their money. They want to go home. And I thought, all right, I guess you got to, you know, he was pretty smart. You know, I guess he had a lot of street smarts. So anyway, he's like, so we went and got some burritos or something like that, some tacos or something. And he took a couple bites and he said, this is nasty. And he threw it out the window. And he had like 3 more. And I said, well, don't throw them out the window. I'll eat them. And so I started eating them. And he goes, you know, I said, oh, man, these are good. These burritos are good. And he goes, oh, okay, well, let me try another one. So after I told him they were good, he decided they were good, and he started eating them, you know. And then he's like, where do we go now? And I said, well, I've got a friend that always invites me down. I live in an apartment complex, and this guy always invites me over to have a beer. Let's go over there. And he goes, no, 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 no. I don't want to do that. I want a girl. I want a girl for the night. What's my next option? And I said, I don't know. There's some hookers that hang out on Harry Hines over here. And like I said, this was several years ago. This is before the internet. And I said, there's some hookers that hang out on this long strip of road in Dallas. It's called Harry Hines. And isn't that kind of apropos? Apropos. I'm wondering if I'm saying that. Isn't that even just like the perfect name? Harry Hines is the name of the street. Believe it or not, Google it. But it's like Harry Behinds, So we drove up and down Harry Hines. We actually didn't drive up and down. We drove up Harry Hines. And when we got to the top of Harry Hines, we made a U-turn in a gas station. And when we made that U-turn, we slowed down enough for two hookers to hop in the back seat. Well, of course, he wasn't going to let that pass, so he hopped in the back seat with them. Now, he's in the center of these two girls. He's in the middle. And the funny thing about this guy is he was so, like I said, so hip and modern and everything. And he wasn't a geek or a nerd, but he had a fanny pack. And I thought, well, that was kind of weird for a guy like him to have a fanny pack. But he had all his money in his fanny pack. Now, I'm telling you, the fanny pack was right here in front of him. It wasn't like behind him or anything like that. His money was where his eyes are, looking down. He could see his fanny pack. He could see the money. And these two girls, well, he told them what he wanted. I'm driving my car, I'm like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to see this. I'm like, I want to drop you guys off at a hotel. And this guy said, no, just keep driving. Just keep driving. We can do it in the back seat. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want to be a part of this. This is gross. And he told them what he wanted. He wanted oral sex. And so they said to him, the girl said to him, well, we want to see the money. We want to see if you got money. And he showed him. He pulled out his big wad of money, stuck it back in his fanny pack. And then the two girls started talking about, what girls talk about when they're not talking about sex. They're talking about, oh, did you hear that Brenda? She had that birthday party for her daughter. And then the other one said, oh, really? And do you know that my aunt came in town and she's going to go shopping with me? And so he got mad because they weren't doing anything for him. And he said, stop the car, which I did. And he said, get out. And he kicked the girls out of the car. And he comes up to the front seat. And I can even picture it like in my head, like I can see it like it was yesterday. He's hopping in the front seat, pulling up his pants, I'm like, oh God, this guy's like an animal, Funny. It's a funny story, but it's like an animal, he's acting like an animal, he's so desperate, And he gets in the front seat and he looks in his fanny pack. Now these girls, they hopped out of the car and lo and behold, there was a cab behind us. And they hopped in the cab behind us and that cab driver took off and went off in front of us. And the guy's getting in the front seat. He's sitting down. He's zippering up his pants and he looks in his fanny pack and the money is gone. His whole big wad of money was gone. They picked his pocket. They picked his fanny pack. So now he's yelling at me and he's like, get him, get him, get him. And I'm driving like 60 miles an hour down this, 30-mile-an-hour road. I'm thinking we're going to get into an accident. We're going to get, slammed by somebody. We're going to run lights, and cops are going to be behind us. And he's like, get him, get him. And he's saying, and he's telling me if I get the money back, he would give me 1,000. So I'm driving as fast as I can. And you know how they say that right before you die, your life passes before your eyes. For me, in this instant, it wasn't like my past had passed before my eyes. It was my future passing before my eyes. I could see the headlines in a newspaper. Cab driver gets thrown out of car, lands in tree, chasing some hookers for $2,000 or whatever it was. Anyway, they got away, lo and behold. And needless to say, the guy probably thought I was in on it. Anyway, I took him back to his hotel at the airport. Now, this will tell you how long of a night this was. You could make a movie of this. This night, I picked the guy up. Remember, I said 2 o'clock in the morning. When I got him back to the hotel, the sun was coming up. The sun was coming up. That's how long of a night this was. I never did get my extra $100. And I started feeling bad about the guy, because he was telling me he sold his truck. He was living in the Bahama Islands, or the Caribbean, the Caribbean islands. He told me he was living in the Caribbean islands, and he sold his pickup truck. And with that money, he was going to go to California and buy a motorcycle, and he was going to start his life all over again. He lost over $2,300. Now, I'm human. I feel bad for the guy, but also I worked all night and I made $100, and I needed the money. I asked him, "Do you have any money?" Now, in his fanny pack there was $1. I don't even know how the dollar got left behind, but they didn't get that, those hookers. But he pulled his wallet out of his back pocket, and he had $50 in his back pocket, in his wallet. Well, I didn't feel bad about him after that, because I figured, well, he's going to be going to LA, and he's going to meet up with friends or family, and he's going to have to start over from zero, basically. But at least he has enough money for food, because I was going to give him, half of that 100. But when I saw that he had 50, I thought, well, I don't feel so bad. When you live your life in a way like this guy, you get ripped off. So, this is my Thanksgiving story. I want you guys to be kind. I want you guys to be sweet with each other, to be nice with each other, to love each other. Jesus said, love one another. Okay? I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Thank you for watching these videos, guys. Thank you for helping me get 1,000 subscribers. You guys, I love your comments. I read them all. I may not be able to answer them all, but thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for subscribing. And we hope you have a good holiday. Have a good night.
Please hang up and try again.